thought I'd just do a little bit of a review. Out and played Warband. It's a pretty funky game. So just to get a few things off the bat, it's definitely a bit of an old game. I mean, you can look at that ground texture. It's a pretty funky ground texture. I mean, you can see the individual lines of the ground right there. And, well, the game's definitely not in the best state because, first of all, you can't make private servers. There's also a lot of glitches with the horse. You can phase through walls and stuff with it. But overall, though, the game kind of holds up as an arena game that you can kind of just hop in with and kill people. Which is pretty nice, obviously. It just as like a game you can just play with your friends in. But I thought I'd just go over some specifics of it. Just to, let everybody know what they are. And maybe that'll help you decide if you should get it or not. Off, I just thought I'd go over the equipment. When you spawn in, depending on what faction and class, you get to choose your equipment. So sometimes you won't be able to pick a horse, sometimes you will, sometimes you'll get certain maces and swords, or bows or crossbows. And it depends on what class and faction you're in. Which means the defending side and the attacking side, or if you're playing a defensive game mode, they might have different types of weapons that cater to them. And it does allow you to build, like, the class you want. So, if you want to play as more of a horse person that runs around at high speeds, you might want a lance. When at the same time, a lance probably won't be that good on foot. So, it does give you a lot of customization of how you want to fight. Which is pretty good in my opinion. Now the combat itself is based on what direction you attack in. So, if you were to move the joystick right, you will start to attack in the right direction. And you hold your swing and let go in that direction. And since it's completely directional, it means you have to have very quick reaction time. It means the better people in this game are all playing at high sensitivity, trying to get you off guard. So you need to learn how to block in which direction fast, and you need to quickly change your block to where you want to go to. That's basically how the combat works. It's not that complex. It's just kind of about your maneuverability and reaction time, which you kind of get a feel for. Obviously, though, you have to be in the right place at the right time. There's still that luck element of, oh, if I walk into this place, maybe there's just too many people. You don't always stand a fighting chance, but you can coordinate with your team to get some good kills, which is nice. In the graphics department, I wouldn't say the game's all that bad. In fact, it does have some nice graphics on the characters, but the general world is just kind of lacking. It's not as bad as like an old 1990s game, but it still really isn't that up to date. And I definitely do think this is the department where the game is definitely lacking in, which is why I think it really does deserve a 2.5. I'm not saying it's like extremely bad, I do think it definitely doesn't look that appealing. And obviously graphics don't really matter that much. The gameplay is what really matters. But I just thought I'd, throw that out there just to explain what I mean. In the department of basically the combat, which is the gameplay, I definitely think this is the part where it really shines. Although it may be simple, obviously you attack in 4 directions and have to move. That simplicity is what really gives this game its charm. Is the fact that it's all down to you to maneuver around them and find ways to break through their shield, attack them from behind, maybe sneak up on them. And it is just really fun to be able to just swing big spears, knives, throw javelins, shoot bows. And I definitely think this just, although it's simple, it doesn't need to be super complex. The combat's just great, which is why I think it deserves a 4.5. Because although it's obviously not perfect, there could be things that could be reworked. It is just very, very just fun. I think, obviously, that's kind of the reason you get the game, is for the combat. It's medieval combat. You shoot bows, you use swords, and it is just fun to run around. Now, by the community standpoint, the community by no means is dead. There are clans and there are people that actively play, but there just aren't many people there. Servers usually might only have 30 people on them, which in a game like this, you know, you usually have full battles of 64. So I'm not going to say it's dead by any means. I think it's deserving of a 3.5 because, you know, that's enough to still play the game and have fun. But it's definitely not thriving, and it seems like as the game's progressing, more and more players are kind of dropping off and forgetting about the game. And this is also a problem on PC. So, although it's not dead and you can still find matches, it's just definitely not filled to the brim. And for the category of bugs, well, the game is just pretty buggy. You can clip through buildings with horses, you can get through the world border with horses, there are velocity glitches with horses, most of them revolve around horses. I have to give this a 4.5. Really, the game is filled to the brim with bugs, and it's kind of sad. Especially the fact that they aren't really working on the console edition anymore. They don't really care about it. So the game is just kind of left in this incredibly buggy state. And it does kind of suck. Now moving on to basically general customization. The game does give you some options on how you can play the game, like how you want to attack, AI, combat speed, obviously basic stuff like sensitivity, gamma. It also lets you choose your battle size. But with general controls, you can't actually specifically rebind the controls from the menu. You'd have to go to your Xbox settings. So in this, I think it deserves a rounded 2.5, just because of that alone, because that is a pretty important feature. Now for this clip, I did just want to show the differences between Mount and Blade on Xbox and PC. First of all, it definitely is a bit more janky navigating with the mouse and having to use Alt-E. But just in general, the controls and options, obviously PC games get more options, but it is just nice being able to easily switch your binds like that. And I don't really know why the Xbox version doesn't have that. So, yeah, I did just want to point that out, how, you know, other versions of the game do have this. So one of the things I thought was pretty important to mention was the fact that the Xbox version doesn't actually have any of the DLCs, which kind of sucks, because there's some pretty good ones. And this even includes, like, the Napoleonic Wars DLC. It's probably one of my favorites, just because it allows you to, you know, have muskets and guns and that sort of stuff. And I really don't know why they haven't included these. Now basically, to end this video off, Mount & Blade, well, it does have its fair share of issues and problems, but the game overall is pretty fun, even if you can look past all the problems it has. Now, one of the problems I do think that is pretty important is just the fact that the developers aren't really supporting it anymore. There's a very unlikely chance they're ever going to be adding in, you know, private servers, or fixing bugs, or adding in those DLCs that they, you know, didn't add in. Mainly because it's already on PC, and also they're moving on to making the new Mount & Blade game called Bannerlord. So there's not really a reason for them to do it. Now, the game is still pretty fun, and I think as long as you can just look past all the rough edges, which I know can be hard at times, the game's pretty nice, which is why I'm going to give it a 4 to 5. Now, since the new game Bannerlord is in development, it might get ported to Xbox, meaning this game might even be more dead than it already is. But on the bright side, that does mean we have a new Mountain Blade game that might get more support than this one, which could be pretty nice. Anyways, this is one of the first videos I've done of this style, so if you liked it, give me feedback.